Hi everyone. So I want to go over the week 2 assignment with you and explain and clarify some of it so that I hopefully can eliminate the confusion that students often have for this assignment. All right. So to begin with, it says to watch this video and hopefully you will do this. To start with, I want to explain that this is a scenario in which you're making up a company that you're a manager of, or you can be the owner of it, and that you are creating the template, the written instructions that are going to be used to create a website for your employees, explaining to them what professional communication is and the channels of communication that you use in your company. All right. And there is some preparation for you to look over, make sure to read all through this. And then you get down to this part. And basically what it's saying is based on the type of company you've chosen, think about, let's say it's a retail company. Think about what type of a retail company it is. Think about how large it is, if there's more than one store or office, because that will determine the channels of communication that you're going to need to use to communicate in your company. What kind of messages do you need to communicate, right? And how is that going to be done? What channels are you going to use? So there's some more questions for you to think about, but these questions don't have to be written down, but they are going to inform what channels you choose and what ways in which you use those channels of communication, okay? All right, so it says use the template below, and I'm going to open the template in just a minute, but here it tells you very specifically what each part of the template is and what the requirements are. All right, so I think what I'll do is I'll come back to I'll go bring you to the template, and then we'll look at those instructions. So here's the template. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. All right. So it tells you to be creative and add images to help engage and inform on this template. But remember, this template is what you're going to give to IT. And using the instructions and the text that's already there, they're going to create your web page for you and make it beautiful. Now, this is a web page that would be on your company web page, but it would be for the employees only. And there's a couple of two other things that I want to emphasize. And that is, this is going to be for internal communication only. And let's see, I believe that I talked about that here. Internal use and training, okay? Not external. Internal communication is communication that happens within your company between employees at all different levels, and possibly the boss if it's a small company. It's the way that employees speak with employees, and managers speak with employees, and employees speak with managers in the company. That's internal. External communication, which is not what we're doing in this assignment, is when employees talk with clients or customers or people outside the company. That you're using internal communication. Okay, so it says to make sure overall you have at least 400 words of content, and oftentimes you will need to use more, but that's the minimum, and about how many words per subpage, but usually you need a little bit more. And then the main homepage, so the IT person knows that this is the main homepage, is where you're going to introduce your company and what professional communication means at your company. But you're introducing this to your employees. So imagine that they're new in your company. So you're welcoming them to the company. And you're telling them or describing what professional communication means at your company. What are the expectations for how they should be communicating within the company with each other? All right, so what do you expect? What are those requirements? Okay. And then you're going to come down to the subpages, and there are 5 subpages, and you're going to organize each one the same, okay? And each one has 2 different sections in them, but those are the same for all 5 of the subpages. So the first thing you're going to do is insert the first channel of communication that you're going to discuss here. But I want to clarify, there are modes, or what we call styles of communication, and channels of communication. Modes of communication, or styles, are broken up into a few categories. That is verbal or oral, written, nonverbal, and visual. There are some others, but those are the primary ones. Those are the way we communicate with someone, right? We write something down, we speak, and someone listens. Oh, listening is one of the styles or modes as well. But the channel is the way that mode is delivered, because for every mode of communication, there's several different channels. So for example, oral or verbal communication, you can deliver that through face-to-face speaking with someone. You can deliver that on the phone by calling someone. You can deliver that in a meeting, in a presentation, in a virtual meeting. You can deliver information through a podcast or radio program. Okay, so verbal or oral is the way we communicate, but channel is the way we transmit that communication. The same with writing. We can write our thoughts, our feelings down, what we want someone to do, but how do we deliver the writing? And so we can use different channels to deliver the writing. We can use email. We can use text messages, instant messages, handwritten letters, memos, reports. It's how we deliver that information. All right, so after you insert the channel of communication used in your company, you're going to describe what that channel of communication is. And so I want to go back down to the instructions here so that we can look at this. Here is that section. You're going to include that channel in the subpage, and then you're going to describe each of those channels. You're going to talk about what the channel is, what it does, not an example of how it's used in your company, but in general. Emails are used to send out messages to multiple people, right? Emails are used to document written messages or sent messages. What other features do they have? What are their benefits, the advantages of using them in professional communication in general? Not the specific examples you're going to give next, but in general, you're going to describe this channel of communication, similar to the way you did in discussion 1 when you talked about email and other channels of communication. But you're not going to be using the disadvantages, but the advantages. All right? Okay. And then you're going to, this is page 5, but it's the same. After you described it, you're going to give very specific examples of how that channel of communication is used in your company. So, again, going back here, it says, who's going to be sending that information? To whom? And what kind of information is being sent? So, for example, maybe there are weekly meetings held in person, or maybe the channel's virtual. Maybe everyone meets virtually. And there's weekly meetings that the manager holds to talk to the employees about, but that depends on what your company is. Okay, so there's a few other things. It says be creative. Here's some of the requirements that are on the worksheet. If you use any sources, which I'm not sure why you would need to, but if you did and it's from our class, then include the reference citation as well as an in-text citation following the information you used. And then again, you're not actually creating the website, you're creating the written information that the IT department will put onto a web page for you. You're writing this to your employees. It's internal communication for them to learn about communication and how it's used in your company, to communicate within the company. And then of course you want to review it, you want to proofread and edit it, okay? And then you want to submit it as an attachment. So use the worksheet. I recommend you leaving everything on here so that number one, you're filling in the template for your IT department or the person who's making this web page for you, and so that you don't forget the requirements. And then just, fill it in between the brackets. It's the easiest way to do it. All right, make sure to go over this carefully. And of course, if you have any questions about this, feel free to send me a message. Thanks.